That is the sound of a distracted, divided, and dead American until they hear. Battle for Freedom, triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Hello everyone, this is Battle4Freedom from Battle for Freedom on the Mojo 5 Radio, and I'm glad that you're joining me. Again, I'm your host, Battle4Freedom from Battle for Freedom, Mojo 5 Radio. Glad you're joining my program today. If you're listening live on Mojo 5 Radio, you probably just finished listening to Pat Oney from the Pat Oney Show. You can check him out on Saturdays, and he also joins Andrew Coppins at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. You'd know a little bit more about this if you went to mojo50.com and you shared it out with as many people as you possibly can. Go to mojo50.com, share it out with as many people as you possibly can, and you can, from there, let a lot of people know about this amazing network. And if you want to know more about me, go to Battle4Freedom.com, and you can basically share this out with as many people as possibly can. Listen, if you are watching online and you're just on your computer and you're looking at the screen and you want to know exactly how to get to what's going on here, you see that little QR code right there just to my right? Scan that. Scan that, and it'll take you right to my Battle for Freedom page, and you can't go wrong. If you want to interact, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go to facebook.com/Mojo5 Radio and leave a comment there, because we're going to be talking today. We'll be talking about the whole idea of injection inspection, questioning Black Plague 2, or Part 2. I see Heidi, Curtis, Josh and Jill, Carrie, Lisa, Linda, Raquel, and Mojovians, or Mojovians, sorry. Raquel, yeah, I had to go there by accident. As well as Lep. Thank you and for just being part of the program today as we get into the whole idea of Black Plague. Black Plague 2.0, and, well, you know what? Speaking of Black Plague, well, it's not so much so a Black Plague, but it is a black tumbler from Romika Designs. It has the Battle for Freedom logo on this, and on the other side it says, triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Try not to spill my drink right now. It's hot, it's delicious, and my keyboard and computer and all that stuff is very sensitive. But if you want to start your day off correctly, make sure you have yourself a tumbler from romikadesigns.com/Battle for Freedom. Give them the code B4F, and you can get 10% off of whatever you're going to purchase from there. Also, I want you to also make certain what's in your cup. Like, Capital One says, what's in your wallet? I'm saying what's in your cup, and it better be American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo 5 Radio.
That's it. I've hit the snooze button a dozen times, and now I have to finally get going. But I'm not going to do this day right if I don't start it off with a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo 5 Radio. But I'm not going to lie to you. They have a wide variety of blends, but I'm leaning towards the one that's named after me, Watson's White Chocolate Caramel. You know what? It sounds as good as those words that just rolled off of my mouth. Listen, get it today. AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Tell them that Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you, and you want Watson's White Chocolate Caramel blend to start your day off. Join American Pride Roasters Coffee and Mojo 5 Radio, and most important, Battle for Freedom, as we celebrate the best coffee in the nation. American Pride Roasters.
American Pride Roasters people, share it out with as many people as you possibly can, because this is how we start our day off. And not only American Pride Roasters coffee, I just want to do one more sponsor for a second here before we get back into the subjects of today. I also want you to consider New Life Holistic.
Does your mind seem like it often shuts down before it even starts? Sounds like you need the detox to improve your health in body, mind, and spirit. I'd like to tell you about New Life Holistic. It is an amazing therapy process that uses neurofeedback and biofeedback for many issues that ails everyone. New Life's method and approach to health, balance, energy, and vitality is what sets it apart from anything you have experienced ever before. Call 1-833-4-BIO-LIFE and tell them Watson from Battle for Freedom has sent you. One more thing. Give them the code Mojo50 and save $50 off of your first session. The consult is free. New Life Holistic.
New Life Holistic. Share it out to as many people as you possibly can. And we appreciate you. I see Sarah just joined in. Kathy's joined in. And my mind has 20 browsers open, 4 are frozen. Kathy says, my mind has 20 browsers open, 4 are frozen, and don't know where the music is coming from. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes I have the same exact thing going on for my brain, processing too much information at the same time. But seriously, that's more truth about me more than you ever could imagine as we sit here and we get through this day. Folks, I want to get to injection inspection, questioning Black Plague, part 2 or 2. The reason why I share this is because of the fact that I'm going to spend some time talking about the vaccine, the virus, the Fauci, and so much more. But today it hit me. This morning, it was actually earlier today, and this wasn't even part of what I was going to talk about. It just came to me about 30 minutes ago. Is this whole idea that we're talking about Black Plague. We're talking about this virus, this pandemic, this worldwide pandemic that's threatening the world. And there's so much that we have to ask about this. And it makes me wonder, what are we... This is just a wonder. This is just a wonder. I'm not making this a statement that this is exactly what's happening here. But what we are watching now, and as we share the evidence, there's a scripture passage I want you to keep in the back of your mind as we look at this thing here. What has been done, what has been is what will be. And what has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:9. Nothing new under the sun. I really want us to focus on that idea. What has been is what will be. And what has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Now, I say this because of the fact that as we watch more and more evidence come out about things that may or may have not have happened, things that have allegedly happened in the process, in the course of the culminations of this virus, the dissemination of this virus, and and new investigations into the virus, and even said vaccines, we're learning things that were very intriguing, that you have to wonder. And it took me back to thinking about Black Plague. Could there have been people, allegedly, who were in power and wanted to control the population back then? Could Black Plague back then, as we hear about the rats and so much more, have been a process of even population control? Or, yes, or population control back then? Could it have been something that got out of hand? They thought that they could control exactly who was going to be around and who had the right to be around at that particular time. So I sit here, I'm just wondering that how far did this really go? How much more information is there? Let's get into some of these stories, because we'll hey, good morning, Carrie. We'll deal with some of these different things here, because I'm just really concerned that there's a lot that we don't know about, and I'm wondering how much of this has been held back from us. But how much of this has really been nothing but what we've already known altogether? Let's look at the first one here, Fauci. So there's this video that surfaces in 2012. Dr. Fauci said gain-of-function research is integral to basic research. Gain-of-function research is a controversial field that involves collecting dangerous viruses and genetically modifying them to be more deadly. This is in 2012. I want this image to stay on your face because there's, and I want this image to stay in your mind. I know we don't like Fauci. I know that we have seen him flip-flop like there's no tomorrow. And as we ask ourselves questions about this. This was 9 years ago. Dr. Fauci, immunologist, virus expert, the face of fighting COVID. Why is it that no one wants to talk about the gain of function? And I'm not going to lie to you, as this information's coming out right now, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm wondering, why is all this data coming out now? Why is it that we are so fixated, or why is this information so readily available now for us to look into what was going on with Fauci, what was going on with so much more? But this gain of function stuff that people don't want to talk about, that people don't want to address or even agree that this is problematic about what we're learning about Fauci and so much more. Here's my thing. I spoke to a lot of friends last year who have no love for former President Donald J. Trump. I have my issues with Trump. I don't say I don't hate him. I don't despise him. I just disagree with him on a lot of different things, on a moral nature, on an ethical nature, and even on a political and financial nature. I disagree with him on. But there are people that I spoke to, black and white, who have it's a visceral hatred for Donald Trump. I talked to a friend I hadn't talked to in 25 years a couple months back. Lives in New York, very intelligent black man, successful in life and everything he's done. And he, among many thousands and millions of Americans, blame Donald Trump for the 500 plus thousand lives, 400,000 plus lives lost because of COVID. But as we sit here trying to figure out and understand better on COVID as more information is coming out. Last year was considered conspiracy theory. And as much as we've seen Fauci flip-flop over and over and over again, a lot of you have blamed Donald Trump. A lot of us have blamed Donald Trump for the lives lost, saying he didn't do enough to fight against COVID. But how do you do this when you have architects of COVID, architects of making COVID and other viruses worse than they need to be, are operating within the government, within the Trump administration, as the Trump administration is trying to combat something here? And they're saying, and here's the thing about it, people were angry that Donald Trump is turning around and he's not letting the scientists, he's not letting the experts speak. But if Fauci could flip-flop as much as he did in front of our faces in the last, it had to be near 3 dozen times the man has flip-flopped. And if in his personal meetings, former President Donald J. Trump watched the behavior of Fauci flip-flopping over and over again, I wouldn't want him in front of everyone. Because people would say, how did you let him into your administration? Why is he there? Why is there so much inconsistency? We need someone who can give us straight answers and give us straight data. Now, mind you, a lot of people are going to blame Trump, but Fauci had been there, and he's been serving 5 presidents. 5 presidents. 5 presidents. Yes, he's Dr. Flip-Flop. Fauci, there, I fixed it. It's just, they're questions that we must ask because something is just not adding up here. Let's go to the second one. So here's another thing. Dr. Fauci again. Fauci briefed world leaders that coronavirus could have escaped from Wuhan lab last spring. Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb reveals despite his public insistence it came from a bat. Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb said that he told Dr. Fauci he had briefed world leaders on the possibility the novel coronavirus leaked from a lab. Gottlieb said that senior Trump official pointed to the suspicions that the strain looked unusual, prompting Fauci to address the possibility that it leaked from a lab. And Gottlieb defended Fauci by highlighting the point that the virus originated in one of 2 ways, either occurring in nature such as bat, or man-made. And Gottlieb said that there was nothing that alarmed him and no evidence of a cover-up found in the trove of Fauci's email that were released last week. But there is stuff. There is more information, Mr. Gottlieb. Are you not paying attention to the facts? We have more and more data of Dr. Fauci, if we can call him doctor. We can call him Dr. Flip-Flop, Sarah. Yes, we can. He has been, yeah, Linda says he's been breathing in his face masks far too long. Folks, something's about to come about on this thing here. Is Dr. Fauci, is Anthony Fauci's being exposed? You have to understand something. We're all about to be exposed. I don't sit here talking about Dr. Fauci like he's to be condemned. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I sit here and I look at this data on Dr. Fauci, everything that's going on with the Wuhan virus, and it's just exposing the wickedness of man's heart. I mean, there's a thing out there right now about that Dr. Fauci was working in a lab. They've had him tied to a lab in a university place, the University of Pittsburgh, where they were sitting there sewing scalps of children, of aborted fetuses on the backs of mice, of rats of all things. The supposed cause of what we have for the original Black Plague. See, there's the allegations of his ties back to the stuff, back to gain of function, back to experiments, back to things that just make you wonder what is going on and what are we doing in the name of science in the world. See, right now, everybody keeps calling Trump and Republicans and conservatives and Trump supporters the anti-science party. Right now, we have an experimental drug being pushed out to the world that is being advertised as a vaccine. It's an experimental drug that is not FDA approved the proper way. Backdoor channels have been made available so that this experimental drug can be given to adults as young and children as young as 12. And actually in Texas, what was it, 4 or 5 months ago, an 8-year-old was given his doses of the vaccine. So as we sit here, we watch this stuff, and there are a lot of questions that we must ask. I'm scared. I'm scared on this, folks. As we ask the questions, there's so much focus even right now on the truth of the vaccine. There's so much information. There's even more things I'm going to share with you throughout this broadcast that you sit here, and I just had to wonder, why are we getting the information now? Injection inspection. It's this whole idea of why are we getting certain doses of information, certain doses of truth here and there. Even when I sit here and I talk about the earlier scripture passage from Ecclesiastes, I look at this. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. I think it's a condemnation of humanity. It's a condemnation of all of us, folks. We are so broken. We're so wicked. We're so foul. It's not funny. We have so many issues, and I wonder how much longer will God tolerate us? I just wonder how much more God will tolerate us. Excuse me, I want to do this quickly.
When the world is going to hell in a handbasket, you need rugged. You need strong. You need durable. You need cat coolers. These are the best coolers on the market in 27, 55, and 88 quart. Go to catcoolers.com and give them the code Watson to save 10% on your purchase. Don't settle for those substandard containers that melt, leak, and destroy your memorable moments. Tell them that Watson from Battle4Freedom sent you. Cat Coolers.
Yes, cat coolers. A couple of comments I want to address on the timeline. Very, very interesting that they would be said. First one is Lep. Lep, you can catch him on Saturdays on Ain't You a Peach. Just great documentary of thought and truth when you catch him on the weekends on Ain't You a Peach. Check him out. But he says the plague or Black Death was transmitted by fleas that were on rats. And it's very interesting that you should say that because of the fact that, again, rats, bats, and mask hats. Sorry, I've got to alliterate if I can. But if you sit here and you watch this whole process of the transmission of it, the idea that, what are the different agents? What are the different tools that are used to make the virus or the diseases more transmittable? I mean, think about this. What we do with masks. Everybody keeps talking about the effectiveness of masks. They're now talking about the effectiveness of this experimental drug being touted as a vaccine. But, I don't have one on me right now. But again, just the common sense questions. Like, I went to a break because I had to sneeze. I just had something in my nose. I had debris in my nose. I had to sneeze. So I hit the mute button and I played the sponsor read for Cat Coolers. And I sneezed and my body expelled something that my body didn't want to have in me. And as we breathe, and sometimes we may even sneeze in our masks, and we sit here, but we can't touch the mask. We can't take off the mask because the mask is there to protect everybody else, but we're breathing in what we're expelling. How in the world is that making us better? I mean, look at all the negative effects that took with mask knee and so much more that people got because they kept breathing in what the body was expelling. Sarah says we are in a tragic time. And yes, it is counterintuitive. It is definitely counterintuitive. Jen Leah Butler, she says, His Holiness says he shouldn't have tolerated us this long. Oh, Lord, you're so correct. His mercy says he is steadfast and patient with us in spite of our depravity. That's probably one of the most sobering things about God. In the midst of our wickedness, in the midst of our evil, in the midst of everything that we have done wrong, His mercy is amazing. His grace is overwhelming. His love is, we can't even begin to fully describe His love apart from the work of what Christ did on the cross for us. I know my disposition, my temperament is a whole lot lower right now as I sit here talking about the virus, Fauci, vaccines, and so much more. But I guess I have to have this disposition right now because, one, maybe my drink is calming me. But two, right now, I think we've yelled enough. I've yelled enough for the week, if I can. There's still tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, so we'll see what happens there. But this idea that we are looking at Black Plague 2.0, Part 2, I have to look at what's happening now. I have to look at all the information that's being culminated right in front of us right now. And then I have to wonder, were these the same situations? Were these the same standards as, back during the Black Death? I've seen enough movies with it. The other thing actually I want to bring up actually is Kathy Palacci. I hope I did that right. Palacci. She says, I guess Sweet Tooth is about to become a documentary. You know what is very interesting? I started that series yesterday. And that is probably one of the... Sorry, not a COVID cough. That was probably one of the strangest series on Netflix I've ever seen in my life. Watch Sweet Tooth. It's very telling. For now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to a break. I'm going to give you guys some time to get your drink, go do a potty break, and I'll talk to you on the flip side.
And now, homeschooling with Watson.
Okay, now time to quiet down.
Daddy's in the backyard. He left his phone now.
Time for class.
Aww.
Simmer down.
Okay, Daddy.
Okay, so let's get into the lesson.
Daddy,
Yes, sweetie.
why aren't you playing those funny songs on your break anymore? Awkward.
Because those commie Nazis of big tech have nothing better to do than harass people like me.
Whoa. Triggered.
Yes, Olive. What do you want to ask me?
What's a commie Nazi? Triggered.
It's when the totalitarians of the Progressive Democrat Party are aggressively destroying our country.
Did you have too much American Pride Roasters coffee, Daddy? Daddy?
Yes, sweetie.
What's a totalitarian? What's a totalitarian?
It's power-hungry people making really bad rules that they will not follow themselves.
Isn't that what you tell us happens with big government?
Yes! Exactly! You make me want to cry.
Aww. We love you, Daddy. We love you, Daddy.
I love you too. Now, where were we?
Government back. God good. Amen. Hallelujah.
I love being a dad. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prenay from Battle4Freedom and Mojo 5 Radio, and I appreciate every last one of you as we sit here getting back into this broadcast, talking about just the whole idea of injection inspection, questioning Black Plague 2.0. Hi, Amy. Thank you for being part of the program. Sweet Tooth Palachi. Okay, so I did say the first time. Okay, I want to make sure that I got that right. Okay. You said, yeah, Amy, the name of the program is the video. It's a TV series actually on Netflix right now called Sweet Tooth. It's a very interesting thing where you have a virus, a strange virus starts like a plague, starts hitting people. And a strange thing happens with the birth of kids that I can't really tell you too much on. But if you have Netflix, take a look at Sweet Tooth, because it's actually, when you look at the behavior patterns of the people who get nervous about the presence of the virus that's allegedly killing people, it's very interesting to see how far people will go to strip away an individual's rights who they believe may be sick, and how far they will go to rid themselves from the presence of the evil and wickedness. So please take a look. It's a very, very interesting movie. And do we become zombies? I think we become zombies, Amy, when we decide that we're just going to leave our humanity behind and just inject a drug, inject a concept, inject ideologies into us, just fresh new stuff that's out there, and never do any research to make sure and exactly what's going on. Dave, good morning, Dave. Thank you for being part and joining the program here. But as I sit here talking about this whole idea of, take a look at, on Netflix, take a look at this Sweet Tooth thing. It's a very interesting thing. It's about a kid, shows him with antlers. Very interesting that you're right, Kathy. This could be a new thing that's going to be facing us. So the first half of the first segment, I've been talking about this whole idea of just questions about the nature of what's happening right now as we're looking at phase 2 of what I call the Black Plague that we are, and good morning, Carolyn, thank you for joining as well, that we are looking at a round 2 of Black Plague. What was this other article? Yes, let's look at this one here. This idea that they said, as we're learning more and more about the virus and everything like that, a rare genome sequencing almost certainly proves COVID was deliberately made in a Chinese lab before it leaked to the world. This is another expert who puts this out. So COVID has this is just, I'm reading from a report that says COVID-19 has the genome sequencing combination of CGG-CGG. I have no idea what this means, but this is from a report where it says 2 U.S. experts say that no naturally occurring coronavirus has ever had that combination. The CGG and CG-CGG combination is extremely rare except when it is used by science doing gain of function in laboratories. So there's something within the coronavirus or COVID-19, allegedly, that has some rare combination in there that says experts conclude that it is more likely than not that the virus was therefore created in a lab in recent weeks. Many of the world's top scientists have pushed to determine whether the virus was leaked from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And I love what Kathy says here. All because they can. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. That's right. See, I think that's where we are right now. And listen, I'm not knocking people who've gotten the vaccine. I've met a lot of cool people, some even on this timeline, who have the vaccine. But what I don't understand is I've never seen so much advertising, so much of a push for everyone to be vaccinated. I mean, on Facebook, even though I tell it, stop showing it to me, I keep getting these things where all these stars are getting their vaccines. Top 10 reasons why you should get your vaccines. All the medical experts who say, this is the reason why you should get your vaccine shot. And it's like, but it's not a vaccine. It's an experimental drug that people want to call a vaccine, and that's fine, but it's not a vaccine. If we want to be accurate in the terminology of what we're saying, it's an experimental drug being used to try and protect individuals and protect people. So let's call it what it is and stop using these, let's just be true, fake news terms. To continue to call what J&J, Moderna, and Pfizer is handing out as a vaccine, it's a false statement because it has not been properly federally approved. It's still under experiment. Let's call it for what it is and stop using these phrases that it's dishonest for me. It's just dishonest. Especially as IU Hospital, and I have friends and family who work for IU Hospital, and they're being told to be vaccinated by September 1st, or else you're out of work. They said it's been proved and it's been safe. Can you say that for the 4,000 plus people who died because of it? Can you say that it's been safe for the 4,000 people? How about the people who've got the blood clots and now the heart issues in teens? We're having heart issues. It's not safe for everyone. And I think that's the problem that I have also with science, is that there's a lot of statements being made talking about the accuracy and effectiveness of things that we have out there, but it doesn't take into regard the fact that there's still collateral damage for our technology and for our advancements in science at the expense of lives lost. From the children murdered in the womb to teens, adults, senior citizens who are killed in the name of science. That's the reason why I sit here and I look at this. And I go back to this whole passage. When I say Black Plague 2.0, what has been will be. What has been is what will be. And what has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Are we looking at phase 2.0 of Black Plague, of people who decided that they wanted to do this? Get the stuff out there and then create the create the fix, create the solution. I'm just asking questions here, folks. I'm just asking questions here. Chinese military scientists filed a patent for COVID-19 vaccine before the virus was declared a global pandemic, and worked closely with Batwoman at a Wuhan Institute. Scientist Yuzhen Zhao reportedly filed a patent for the COVID-19 vaccine on behalf of China's People Liberation Army on February 24th of 2020. Interesting. Look at the date and look at the time. February 24th of 2020. The president has already addressed the nation of letting them know this is what we're trying to do. So as they were letting people die, as they were being hush-hush on the situation of what was going on, vaccines don't just pop up within a month or two. You just don't develop a vaccine that fast. You filed a patent for a vaccine in February, less than a month after the president talked about what was going on. As more questions have to be asked about this, and again, a lot of people who blame Donald Trump for this. How can you blame Donald Trump for something that he was trying to get better answers at? There's more that needs to be asked as we look at this. See, this is what a lot of people just don't understand or appreciate where I come from. And I sit here and I talk about the whole idea of the depravity of man, the depravity of our hearts. Jen Leah Butler said that earlier, talking about our depravity. Human depravity is something that we don't want to ever address because of the fact that it means that we're forced to look into the mirror and see who we are. When Romans 3:10 through 12 basically makes reference back to Psalms 53 that talks about the fact that there's no one good, no one righteous, no, not one. When the Word of God says that there's nothing new under the sun, it talks about the depravity, our brokenness. That what we've done now, we've done back then. We're just more sophisticated now in the treachery and the evil machinations that we do in our hearts. And this is very troubling as we're watching this thing come to pass. Because there are agents who are part of this thing called COVID that need to be exposed, just like the rest of us need to be exposed for the treachery and wickedness in our hearts. China only had declared human transmission of the virus 5 weeks prior. News that the Zhao filed a patent for the vaccine so quickly suggests Chinese officials may have known about the virus much earlier than they admitted. Zhao is also said to have worked closely with the deputy director of the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Again, bringing us back to Dr. Fauci, the face of the fight against the virus, against COVID. As more and more comes out, I'm telling you, we're going to learn more about ourselves. Honestly, because I know a lot of us, we want to be angry with Dr. Fauci, we want to be angry with Trump, we want to be angry with Biden, we want to be angry with Kamala Harris, we want to be angry with everyone that you can imagine. I'm wondering if this is time for us to be angry with ourselves. I know I share a lot of information about things that we should think about, we should reflect on, things that we should question and wonder, are we hearing the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Because the key word for every day for me is introspection. When I get to the end of my day and I evaluate myself, I evaluate my life. Oh, I'm angry with a lot of individuals, but I'm angry with myself more. Amen, Jen. Angry with ourselves, angry with our sin. I'm sure we can speak out against sin, we can speak out against evil, we can speak out against wickedness, but let us be mindful to speak out against the evil that's even within us. Because if we don't, we're just not doing a good service to, speaking of, we're not doing a good service to our neighbors and to everyone that matters. I want to bring up, yeah, perfect. I have it here. I've been struggling with this. Verse. It's so simple, and it's in Romans chapter 12. I've been in Romans chapter 12 for about 2 weeks now, and it's taking me a little bit more time because of the fact that I just can't easily go through what I'm sharing with you now because of the fact that it's condemning for all of us if we really want to be honest about this. I'm going to share this one here with you, this particular verse. For by the grace given to me, I say to everyone among you not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think with sober judgment, each according to the measure of faith that God has assigned. As we sit here and we expose Dr. Fauci for who he is, God's going to expose us for who we think we are. This is a difficult verse as we sit here talking about sin, talking about wickedness and evil. If you ever got the impression or came to the faulty assumption that I think I'm better than you, I think I'm morally better than you, you haven't been paying attention. You have not been paying attention to this broadcast and everything I say. When I call out Donald Trump for his behavior, calling out my own behavior, calling out my own sin, the idea that there's nothing new underneath the sun means that the wickedness that we see abroad is the wickedness we probably see within, but we don't want to be real about talking about that sin. I'm not saying we can't talk about issues. We have to talk about issues. We're relatable people. That we have our discussions. We have our debates. We have conversations that allows us to continue to flow and communicate with one another. But I'm looking at this stuff, and we have to look at this really, really serious. Just the whole idea of this, the patent on this thing here. Here's another one here. Secret report by respected U.S. government laboratory concluded in May last year that it was plausible coronavirus leaked from Wuhan lab and said the theory deserved further investigation. Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory published the report in May 27th of 2020. The California-based team concluded it was plausible that the COVID-19 was man-made, and they analyzed the genetic makeup of the virus to explore how it evolved. They said it was possible that it leaked from the laboratory in Wuhan, China. They said that lab leak theory merited further research. It's very interesting that there are certain theories that we feel that we will continue to research regardless of whether or not we've had unending evidence that disproves the theories that we've been following. I mean, consider the fact that we've been following the theory of evolution for so long, even though it begs and asks major critical questions that we must consider, but we're going to continue to just follow it regardless, because it's been an acceptable, widely accepted view and perspective. It doesn't have to be proved, it just has to be widely accepted. And it makes me think about that, though. That widely accepted terminology, you know what that means? Democracy. If we did a tally of all the people who widely accepted the views of evolution and the views of COVID and the views of everything else, the effectiveness of vaccines and everything like that, would we truly tally the majority of the scientific minds? And does it have to be a scientific mind that's an expert on this thing here, though? Because in the culture of wokeness, there are a lot of different individuals who are now assuming and superseding what we've known in science for so long. So where do we draw the line on who are the effective leaders, or who are the justifiable voices of reason, sound judgment, and intelligence? We live in a day and age, where people are allowed to assume a gender as different from them. That people can just assume anything, and their truth has to be reviewed, not just reviewed, respected, and I'll even go farther. I'll go further, not just respected, but promoted even by us. So if we're in that day and age, in an age of acceptance and tolerance, why do I have to be coded in the words that I'm saying during this broadcast for fear that it may be censored by YouTube, or censored by Facebook, or censored by big tech? If views, because I don't understand, as we are in Pride Month, as we take pride in this month of celebrating, and I don't look down on people who are part of the LGBTQ community. They're humans just like the rest of us. But if they are to be given a voice, if they're to be given a voice in a platform that they must be heard, why not make July vaccine-free month? The personal choice, my body, my choice month for those who don't want to get a vaccine. If they're to have a voice, let those who do not want to have a voice, because I find it very interesting. What was it? Here it is. Yes. More than a quarter of, no, not that one. Yeah, let me do this one. I'll go into that. Yes, I'm going to do this one first. More than 3/4 of Americans are not planning to get vaccinated against COVID, say they are unlikely to change their mind, a poll finds. 78% of Americans who say that they don't plan to receive the vaccine are unlikely to change their minds. Demand for the vaccine was plummeted in recent weeks after reaching highs in April. Results mean it may be unlikely for the United States to reach herd immunity from COVID-19. Non-college educated people and Republicans are most likely to not want to receive the vaccine. I find this very interesting. That last line is what sticks out for me. Non-college educated people and Republicans. Why do you have to say non-college? So you're saying you're dumb idiots who don't want to get the vaccine. There are educated people. There are doctors who are educated, who have served the community for 30 to 40 to 50 years, who say, I'm not getting the vaccine. Are they dumb? Are we going to, and what number of them are out there that are more than the ones that are being pushed by the media? But I find this very interesting that you say non-college educated people. Like a degree means anything. There are a lot of college educated people, degrees in underwater basket weaving and using I've got my bachelor's in using a tweezer to count the number of hairs I have in my belly button, or my degree in frog development in Antarctica. And there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt because their social studies or their gender studies programs that they've spent all this money on their liberal arts degree, and they're not yearning or finding or yielding the jobs that they were hoping to find in this rosy-colored world that they believe that their teachers, their professors, the colleges promoted that they would find work in their field of passion. Basket weaving may not be college education, but it definitely is. I'm trying to remember when we saw it. We talked about that in the 80s, in the 70s and the 80s. It was just a common phrase I just remember hearing. But here it is. There are a lot of Americans. They're not unintelligent. This is why do you have to even go there and say non-college educated people? Because there are a lot of college educated people who don't want the vaccines. But the fact that you say non-college educated, you know what this does? This speaks something into the minds of society. See, this is why you got to get your degree. You see, this is the reason why we don't want. See, because what they're trying to say here is this gets back to the narrative: anti-science, anti-educated individuals are making this decision. This is very, 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 very sad. This is very, very heartbreaking as you watch this, because you have to understand the undercurrent. As I sit here talking about the attack on people, I remember even during Black Plague, this is one of those things that people didn't want to hear, but this is a very interesting thing, that the Jewish community were probably the least victimized during Black Death in the natural occurrences of what Black Death brought about, how the plague killed millions of people. The Jewish community were able to withstand a lot of the tragedy that took place during the first Black Plague. And the reason why was because of the ceremonially clean laws in the Bible, where the Jews were practicing cleansing rituals to stay clean, to stay pure, and stay away from things that may harbor or bring about disease and death. But instead of actually stopping to say, well, what are they doing differently than the rest of us? Because why are they not dying as fast as we are? Let's blame them. And as we sit here and we watch, let's say for argument's sake, okay, all the people who choose not to get vaccinated, I'm not saying this is a reality, but this is just a hypothetical. All the people monitoring this is a hypothetical. Let's say all the people who chose not to get the vaccine turn around and they end up living a lot longer. Yeah, they may get infected with the COVID virus, but they're part of the 99% who stay alive, and their body builds up the natural immunities, and society continues to go on. But then a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, the people who got the vaccine may suffer a strange illness. I'm not wishing this on it. I'm praying this never happens. But do you blame? I know what the language is going to be. We died because the people who didn't want to get vaccinated kept spreading the disease. Yes, Brenda, she asked a great question. Shouldn't us all non-vaxxed people be dead? Yes, we should. We should be dead by now, but we're not. I saw this. It was an interesting thing. It says that more than a quarter of children with COVID-19 have at least one pre-existing condition, such as asthma and obesity. A new study looked at data on more than 40,000 children who fell ill with COVID between March 20th and January 21st. And asthma was the most common condition, diagnosed at 10% of pediatric patients, followed by neurodevelopmental disorders like ADHD and autism. Type 1 diabetes and obesity were the strongest risk factors for hospitalization, raising the risk of 4 to 6-fold. So in other words, what it's basically saying is if we actually do better in how we're taking care of one another, we live better, we live healthier, maybe we might not see this people dying at the level that they are. I'm telling you, there's many questions that need to be asked on this thing here. There are many questions that must be asked as we look at Black Plague 2.0 or Part 2. I'm not lying to you, folks. I'm really concerned that what we're seeing on the global landscape of information being blocked, information being censored, new information coming out. And I wanted to talk briefly about this. No, I'm not going to talk about this one. I'm going to leave that one alone. Because again, we're getting hit with a lot of data right now. The timing on the data is what's really questioning me, because of the fact that it just seems too convenient for me that we're getting all this data right now. We didn't have this last year. Why didn't we have this data last year when everybody was blaming Donald Trump? Why didn't we knew all this information, even in the height of the summer and everything going on, and we go into phase 1 and phase 2 and all these lockdowns and everything is going on? Why didn't we have this data? I tell you, it's because of the fact that we had to sell a message to the public that Donald J. Trump was to be blamed for the lives being lost. And if they were willing to lie about that back then, what are they willing to lie about now? Attitude to gratitude. Got to go positive. B4FAOG, send a message to me whenever you can. And I would like to B4FAOG@gmail.com. I want you to send it to me because I want to share this really cool story for you. Here's a story about this young kid who turns around in the midst of the COVID thing. This kid here, 12-year-old whiz kid who graduated from high school and college in the same week, opens up about taking extra classes in the pandemic and founding 2 tech businesses. Mike Wimmer from Salisbury, North Carolina, spoke about his incredible accomplishments during an interview that aired. The preteen graduated from his college and his high school on May 28th. Folks, the reason why I say this, and I say this really quickly, is because of the fact that despite the virus, you can succeed if you're willing to. Let's see the best of humanity and the worst of humanity right now. Rise out of the ashes, do better. I'm your host, Watson Prunier. I'm out.